Good morning, guys. Depending on when you're watching this, hope you had a great weekend or a week work week. Today we're going to be talking about some subtle energies today. So what we're going to be talking about is some definitions. We're going to start with definitions of subtle energies, and, just definitions of things that so we can talk that we know what we're talking about this all together. And then we're going to be connecting Western thoughts and Eastern thoughts of what injuries and illnesses are and what pain is. We'll go over what energy testing is, anatomy and physiology of energy medicine, how that works. And then I'll go over some treatments that you guys can do in your clinics together. And we'll go over clinical significance I have for you guys and future research ideas. So we're going to be talking subtle energy definitions. Subtle meaning so difficult, not difficult, but delicate or precise, difficult to analyze, should say, or describe. Energies is a concept, an abstract concept, and it means like invisible life force. So, energy medicine, basically, what it is that it says that illnesses are a supposition that results from disturbances in the body's energies and energy fields and can be addressed via interactions or interventions with those energies and energy fields. So throughout the presentation, you'll see me say chi, ki, prana. Okay, what do those mean? They mean the exact same thing. It's just from different cultures. So chi has come from Chinese, ki comes from Japanese, prana is from yogic, the Ayurvedic culture, so it's going to be more in the India and stuff like that. So, but these mean vital energy in life force, or also the breath of life. Chakras, so we have our 7 pools of energy that we learned about in the summer. The meridians, which I like to think about, are pathways in which the energy flows. Okay, so connecting the bridge of Western and Eastern thoughts. I thought we'd start off with this just to kind of get an overview of kind of like how energy kind of works and stuff like that. But I kind of uh, linked a YouTube video about this experiment. I'll kind of quickly go over it, but if you really want a better explanation, go ahead and go into the presentation that I'll send you guys, and it'll put you into the YouTube video. But basically, if you guys remember from physics or chemistry class, we're learning about atoms, is that um, they did a double slit experiment, and which they found out the properties of light, the duality properties of light, because light acts as a wave, but also as particles. So it's kind of like more like atoms and waves. So they redid this experiment, but they took this electron beam gun or an atom gun, and hopefully I get this correct. But basically, is that when they blocked off one of these slits here, it just came up with one of these columns on the screen. And then when they opened up two of these slits, it became like this kind of like this rainbow effect where you get multiple columns, kind of like what light is. But what they decided to do differently was that they put a camera, basically, like a detector, at the top slit and turned it on, and they left both slits open. And so then they like left the room and they had the experiment going. So what they found was is that um, two of these two columns would come up, not this rainbow effect that you would expect, because that's what happened last time, right? That's not the same thing. They um so it was only these two columns, is basically these two slits acting as a particle. And then they turned off this camera and left the room and let the uh um experiment go. And it turned out to be this. It turned out to be this rainbow effect, almost like it was acting like a wave. Crazy, right? This is one of the scientific things that I found a lot about, that they're trying to figure out, and there's multiple theories on why it could happen and stuff like that. But um basically, the act of observing the atom changes its behavior. um and so just the concept of energy itself can be physically or virtue is found in every medical and healing system worldwide. So just looking here at my notes, Western allopathic medicine focuses on biochemical energy that fuels cellular fission and function, and that's called ATP, right? But almost every other healing tradition acknowledges an invisible life force of energy. So prana in the Ayurvedic tradition of yoga, chi, this is Qu or Chi, is in traditional Chinese medicine. Pneuma in classical Greek healing traditions, and hopefully I say this, Ruach in Jewish mysticism. And conventionally, kind of biology provides like more of a reductionist view of what life is. So it's very analytical. I found a couple saying that it focus on biology as like a crystal or like a diamond, right? It's hard, unyielding, doesn't really give in every place, and so it's really analytical. But the biophysical view is more like a flame, and it's flowing, dynamic, I should say, energetic, always changing. You can have hot or you can have cold fire in relation to each other, but the two are rarely ever correct by themselves, but they should be complementing each other, and we'll get back into that in more in the treatment section. But another example of, just because you can't see something does not mean that it's not there, right? There is a Hungarian physician, hopefully I say this right, Ignaz Semmelweis, who suggested in 1847 that hand washing in the delivery room would dramatically reduce the mortality of infection. But he could not offer an acceptable scientific view of why this would be happening. And he was ridiculed and shunned most of the time. And because germ theory was discounted because germs were invisible, quote unquote, and could not be detected. So just because you can't detect something doesn't mean that it's not actually there, because we do now that we have microscopes and stuff that we can see germs, and now that's basically why we all have surgery rooms that are basically germ free. Moving on to energy testing by Dr. Cam Yoon. So he's a chiropractor and I believe a Shaolin monk from China, and he developed his own little company. Well, I shouldn't say little; it's huge, but it's called Yoon Energetics, and he talks about energy testing and he says that the body and the mind are a binary computer. So if you don't know what binary is, it's basically computer language. It's just ones and zeros, and depending on the way that those are formed, that's basically is like the alphabet. So there's two binary states of energy. There's -1 and then there's 0. And there's two choices in every situation / question, because we're doing energy testing like we learned about in the summer. But the muscle test, if it's strong, you put out your arm and you test the muscle. If it's strong, that doesn't necessarily mean that your energy is strong. It just means that your energy is neutral. That would be the 0, right? But if your muscle test is weak, it means that there's an issue or there's a problem, or that your energy doesn't completely agree with the question, which means that you're on the right path to an answer. So change the answer, or the question, I should say, a little bit, and you can get more answers from that. But basically, it's the body's lie detector. It's going to tell you yes or no. So you got to figure out from there what a yes looks like, what's a no look like, and what do you want to find out from your questions. Okay. So Beverly Rubik has her own idea that creating an O, right, with your fingers, and you're trying to test finger strength. She did like a little experiment with holding medication and doing this energy testing. So the medication is indicated, the strength would be good, that you couldn't pull your finger across out, and or if it was weaker, the medication was not indicated, because everything has an energy state and it gives off its own energy frequencies, and your body will just pick up that like subconsciously. So that's her idea, is that you could do that and you could figure out what medications are indicated, what indication or medicines are not indicated based on the energy state of the medication and you at the same time. So going into the anatomy and physiology part, just putting up my notes here, is that so we have our chakras, which in traditional Chinese medicine is called dantian, when our meridians, and in the yogic model these are called nadis, and we have our biofields called koshas. And then here are like the different categories that I kind of came up with. There's more than these, but this is like kind of the main things. But we have our body double, which is our pranic slash etheric, hopefully I said that correctly, and our emotional level of our biofield, which is astral. So if you've seen like it's that Marvel movie, Doctor Strange, where he goes in the astral travel, mental level, and then we have our nirvana, which is where Hinduism and Buddhism try to get to from meditation wise. They try to get to that level of energy. And then we have our creation slash our soul plane. Again, what is pain? About from traditional Chinese medicine. And they say that illnesses arise from the block of energy, either from a meridian or a chakra. So either one can be weak, with their connected organ, muscle, and emotion. So Donna Eden, I was reading her book and some of her articles that she does with her husband David Feinstein. That these nerve impulses are similar to electrical signals, right? But they differ in the light that you would turn on your light bulbs rather than power your body. So traditional, or I shouldn't say traditional, but electricity for the lights, electrical light energy, is based off of negative charged or electrons, as to say, that are flowing in a current. And the body's nerve impulses are involved with action potentials and positively and negatively charged ions going across cell membranes. So different types of energy, but similar, right? That they're both electrical, but they work different ways. And so she actually, Donna Eden's the one who can actually see the energy systems, but she says that there's 9 energy systems that she points out. And so the meridians, chakras, and biofields, or auras, that she says. And then we have our radiant circuits, triple warmer, electrics, elements, Celtic weave, and basic grid. So we're just gonna stick with the main 3, just because I would be here for 2-3 hours just talking about stuff. And so going on to chakras and meridians. So best known in the yogic model. So these, which includes 3 key anatomical elements. So we have our vertical energy centers of increasing emotional and energetic frequency, which would be our chakras. And then our network of distribution pathways, which would be our nadis, or our nadis, and that'd be our meridians that surround the physical body, containment vessel made of sheaths or koshas, and that'd be our biofield. So basically how I kind of think about it, and this could be wrong, this is kind of just how I visualize it, that the CNS of the brain and the spine and the spinal cord is our chakras, right? They go in a straight line vertically. And then our PNS, our peripheral nervous system, is our meridians. Those are the nerves and the pathways that are coming off of the chakras. Now, in traditional Chinese medicine, there are 14 meridians, but in everything else, there are only 12. And that's why, because traditional Chinese medicine has central and governing meridians, while the other ones just have the 12 meridians that come off of the chakras. And they all have a connecting muscle, organ, and also emotional and sensation. So if you look at this flow chart that I have here, right next to the chakra image, So the flow chart dictates which meridian is active in different part of the day. And this is a traditional Chinese standpoint, Chinese medicine standpoint. And each meridian is either a yin or a yang. And you see that they alternate by yin yin, yang yang, yin yin, yang yang. And so this can show you which meridian that you may need to kind of focus on during that day. And then also, but they also have their meridians are also connected to emotions and stuff like that. So a bunch of figures of speech that we always, have that, love is heartwarming. So love resides in the heart chakra, which would be number 4. So warm-hearted. And then fear is sometimes nervous, anxiousness, fear is experienced as butterflies in the stomach. This one's a little weird because fear, the emotional, you can see is that it's on the bottom, connected to the root chakra, but butterflies is the sensation of the solar plexus. So emotions can kind of play off of each other. It's not like a concrete, this does this does this, right? It's dynamic, it's ever flowing. And so and then I found something kind of cool. I just want to show you with you guys. Some of you guys may have known about ASMR videos. So what ASMR actually stands for is Autonomous Sensory Meridian Response. So I left a link there for you guys to kind of check out from a psychologist point of view or a psychiatrist point of view what ASMR is. Hint, hint, they have no clue what it means. But this is what energy medicine says about it, is that the tingling at the top of your head flows down into your body. Sometimes if you're watching sometimes ASMR videos are people like whispering into like microphones or cutting soap or playing with like Orbeez or cutting like the kinetic sand. So whatever that is, it's just like whatever your thing is for ASMR. It's just sometimes you feel the tingling at the top of your head, which is your crown chakra, and it's connected to the emotion of bliss. It makes you calm. So when we hear comforting words or listening to quiet nature sounds, the crown chakra and the governing vessel meridian are the most likely generators of this sensation. And when an emotion is intense enough, we can directly feel or perceive its energetic value or the nature of the emotion and the energy. So that's another way of us knowing what the energies are, even though we can't directly measure them like with pinpoint accuracy. At least we can notice the effects of this energy. So talking about biofields, so we have our 7 planes of biofields, and it's all its subdivisions. Keep it real simple for this presentation, but you can see on the right where it goes. It's pretty in depth. But we're going to be kind of focusing on these first 2 planes because I feel like that's where we can do most of our work as athletic trainers. So we have our physical plane, which includes our physical body, and our etheric or body double. So in the summer that we were learning about the body doubles, and that I was sewing up Miguel's biofield. It's kind of playing off of that. So what the NIH says about it, the National Institute of Health says about biofields, is that biofields are tangible and can be measured. Biofields are a massless field, not necessarily electromagnetic, but that they surround and permeate the living bodies and affects the body. So that's what the NIH says. And that's kind of, I guess, who we follow. It's a national thing. But basically, the physical plane, that's where we do most of our work. That's where allopathic medicine intervenes. You're sending a medicine into the body to have an effect, right? Excuse me. So we have our etheric, our body double, which is still kind of part of the physical plane, but kind of blends into the astral plane. And you can access etheric energy to boost this biofield by sunlight, fresh air, and food. Those are the kind of to help nourish that. And so in our astral level or emotional level. This is kind of where emotionally charged things accumulate. So if you think about what is it? So bad dreams, so nightmares and bad dreams. This is kind of where they reside. It says that bad dreams and nightmares arise at the lower fourth and fifth subplanes. So you can see if you just count up four from the bottom, because it goes one, up, like just kind of like the chakra thing that I had, the table that I had on the last slide. Sorry about that. Could not remember the word. But basically, bad dreams and nightmares arise on those subplanes during astral travel. So you're probably asking, okay, well, what is astral travel? Is that real? But basically, that's just REM sleep for energy medicine. Basically, I mean, it's a little different from that, but REM sleep is rapid eye movement sleep, and that's where our most vivid dreams are able, and that's what we remember in REM sleep. And then going on to more of the obscure, I would say planes, stuff that might take a little practice to get to, but I couldn't find a lot of treatments in that and in these sections. But our mental plane, or casual plane, which is our reincarnating egos emerge. And then we have so these are where ideas are considered distinct objects. So they have our actual like ideas are have their own energy wave. Then we have our Buddhic, which is not nirvana, which is the one right below nirvana, which is where group consciousness and group think come from. The oversoul that supervises the actions of several souls. And then we have our atomic. Hopefully, I'm saying these correctly, but nirvana. That's where Buddhism and Hinduism want to meditate to get to, but this is where laws of physics originate and miracles originate. So this is kind of where Jesus and Mother Mary kind of do their miracles, turning water into wine, healing of the blind, making dividing food of fish and bread, right? Also being raised from the dead. We just passed Easter this last week, right? Moving on to monadict. So we have our transcendental or global healing. And then and we have our adic, which is the top thing, and that is characterized as pure emptiness and the source of existence. So I like to call this God, basically, or the Big Bang if you don't believe in God, or whatever you subscribe to. Going on to Kirlian photography. So this is developed by Semyon Kirlian. It's basically electrophotography. So you put something on an electrical plate. So I have on the right here, I have a picture of a hand and a leaf. And basically, this is a way of measuring, or at least quantifiably, or seeing what the biofield is. So there's a case study done by Rubik showing, Beverly Rubik is showing that after therapeutic touch treatments, that the corona discharged is increased, showing a better energy flow in the biofield. And then also, this is kind of a way to see, it kind of explains phantom limb sensations. Okay, so phantom limb still has the body double. Donna Eden, in several articles, talk about her case studies that she's been doing, and Donna Eden has treated phantom limb before, and with patients using sedation points and acupressure in the biofield. So she's not actually like even touching the patient, but she's interacting with the biofield. So this kind of hits home for me a little bit, because I have a amputee patient here at my high school. And so I have actually had to do some of these treatments. He comes in sometimes, he's like, it's really acting up today, and kind of we do some bucketing. I haven't really tried the sedation points because he hasn't come in fairly recently, but next time maybe I'll tell you guys how that works out. But basically, a neuroscientific explanation of what phantom sensations are is that they're cortically based sensory memories of the limb. Okay, which is kind of good, but also not great because there's been studies that showed that um, patients that have phantom sensations are also felt by people with congenitally absent limbs. So people that were born without arms or legs or fingers or whatever still can feel these sensations, which kind of brings down the theory that they're just memories from that your mind has to kind of adapt to uh, because they've never had those memories of having, you know, an arm or a leg or whatever. Um, and so, in clinical work in patients experiencing phantom limb pain, suggests that phantom limb is not just a subjective illusion generated by the patient's sensory cortex, but is an etheric energy field that exists independently of the physical body. So, looking at this picture of this leaf, you can see that the orange is all of the leaf that is actually there. So, this top point of this leaf is actually a study done to kind of confirm this, but they amputated leaf. Basically, they cut off the tip of the leaf, and they took a picture. And so that black part is that there's no leaf there, and that's actually the biofield of that leaf. And because if it was just the biofield just followed the perimeter of whatever was there, then you would obviously see, like, you know, that it would go up on the left side and then just go straight across and then down, but it goes straight up and it recreates the tip of the point. So that's another way of quantifying the biofield. Okay, so energy physiology. This is kind of basically how uh, energy medicine kind of works. Energy medicine techniques can affect the physiologic processes like neuronal growth, gene expression, and polyvagal activity. So the biofield is a biological substrate created by cellular metabolism, ion fluxes, and magnetic fields. And basically what that's saying is that the non-materialistic model says that the biofield is an organizational template originating from the vibrational level of Newtonian physics, which is basically quantum physics. And Micah talked about that last semester. So you can go back and kind of maybe understand that better from a quantum physics level. But conventional medicine looks at the body function from a bottom up view. So that's from cell to body to energy field, if they even consider looking at that. But basically, that's what they look at. Well, energy medicine looks at it from a top down view. Okay, so it's energy to body to cell. So they work at the energy level to help body function, which will then help cellular function. Then going on to Rain's microinflation theory. So in traditional Chinese medicine, right, illnesses and injury come up from a block of qi, right, or qi. And so this Rain's microinflation theory says that the obstruction of qi flow within the meridian causes oxidative stress within the cells, which generates pro-inflammatory free radicals, which means that obstruction of qi flow causes oxidative stress, which causes pro-inflammatory free radicals. Now, it's not the gross inflammation that we're talking about from from an ankle sprain or something, but low-grade inflammation is a symptom of many chronic diseases like coronary artery disease and also dementia. So energy medicine could help with all of that stuff. So acupuncture probably is one of the most researched treatments that we're going to be talking about today. But acupuncture has been shown to alleviate symptoms of oxidative stress like muscle soreness, cramping, and fasciculations. Butchered that word. But basically, a study was conducted. Then they measured the blood lactate levels of elite athletes. I believe they were looking at marathon runners, and they showed it showed a reduction of blood lactate levels after an acupuncture treatment. So we're looking at the complementary and alternative treatments. They're called CAM treatments, CAM treatments. That's what the NIH actually categorizes them as. But going on for the physical body level, we can do AAT. Depending on when you watch this presentation, you may have watched Jay, so I'll let him talk about that. And ASMR kind of falls under that. Breath work. So breath work just kind of helps energy flow and just kind of creates movement throughout the body. And that's why we do a lot of breathing exercises and stuff like that. Holding sedation points. So this is what kind of Dawn Eden kind of came up with, and it's in her book on page 303 and 304. But it's kind of so she identified muscles in the corresponding meridian, and so you hold these points, one on the foot and one on the arm or whatever, and they correlate to a certain muscle. So if there's an overactive muscle, then you can hold those points and it should relax, right? Because energy flow is you have a hyper and a hypo energy state, right? So let's say I have a block, let's say right here in this meridian, now everything past that in my arm is going to be hypo energetic, so I may come up with like different illnesses, that stuff that may come down my arm. But in my trap is hyper energized, and that's like a lot of energy there, so all my muscles will like shorten and be super tight, so you could hold those sedation points and it help relax, a trap, deltoid, rhomboid, stuff like that. And kind of going into that, okay, so talk about emotional freedom technique. Micah talked about that last week, so you can just skip that, but you can use that. Acupuncture, acupressure, and dry needling. So acupuncture and acupressure follow acupuncture points along meridians to help unblock energy and fix the flow of energy. Okay, what's the difference between that and dry needling? Dry needling focuses on trigger points. So you put a needle in a trigger point and it helps the muscle relax, basically. That's how it works. But acupuncture doesn't necessarily look for trigger points, but they look for points along a meridian to help with energy flow. Now, from what I was looking at is that dry needling, those trigger points actually flow along a meridian. And so actually the trigger points that you're putting in most likely are acupuncture points. Not always, but most of the time they actually are, because they flow along that energy. And if it's blocked, it's that hyper energized, which is going to get that trigger point and that tightness in the musculoskeletal system. Heart coherence, a little bit more complicated, but it's basically they hook you up to an EKG, and they have you do some energy healing stuff, and it helps bring down blood pressure and heart rate, stuff like that. And then therapeutic and healing touch is actually energy medicine that was developed by nurses. And so I thought it was kind of cool is that the energy medicine is flowing into the Western way of medicine and stuff like that. And nurses are a way for that to happen. What I write here? Okay, so yeah, so therapeutic touch and healing touch are similar to Reiki, and that's where they kind of deviated from. The nurses developed or took classes of Reiki, and then they made their own thing with the Reiki like elements of that. And then so going up to the etheric and body double, most of these things actually can be done on the physical body level, but I just put them up here because you can do these in the body level and not just in the physical level. I mean, you could do sedation points in the biofield as well. But so you can do all of these body treatments in the body double level. But something called pain chasing, that's on Dawn Eden's book on 309. So you basically find a painful part, just kind of like PERT, where you find a nociceptive part and you press firmly there, and then you find the beginning of a meridian and that corresponding meridian, and you press firmly and you kind of just you hold it there, and it kind of gets rid of it. It's supposed to get rid of pain. And she gives like a step-by-step way of doing that and charts and stuff like that. Meridian tracing is what we kind of learned last summer. You kind of just follow whatever meridian that you're targeting. You follow the meridian, and it helps just unblock the energy flow from there. Reiki. So my mom kind of has done Reiki a couple times. So she was telling me about it. But basically, there are 4 levels of training. 1, 2, 3, and then master of Reiki, a Reiki master. And it was actually developed by a Japanese monk, and it's been used for in hospitals for pain management, stress relaxation, and basically just the quick nitty gritty of it is basically that the practitioner acts as a step down transformer, which means that they're transferring energy, which could be like universal energy or their own energy and intuition into the patient. And that's basically how that works. So a little bit of, we're placing our intuition, and the patient is getting better. On the emotional level, so we have our bucketing and bringing in the vibrations to help with that, emotions and stuff like that, help release. And interesting thing I came across is eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. So this is kind of a treatment that energy medicine kind of really doesn't know how it kind of works, just from what I found. But basically, it's a treatment for people that are dealing with some traumatic things in their life. So you could use this for PTSD for military. You could use this for a man or a woman that has been raped or has been abused, and just kind of help the emotional release of those experiences, right? So basically, EMDR is unclear why this treatment works, but it's eye movement treatment. So you put up 2 fingers and you have them look like just with their eyes to each thing, almost like if you're testing eyesight for a concussion test in the scat. Helps the patient deal with traumatic material, and it's by activating the third eye complex, which is the brow chakra, which is right here. So we have our crown, and then we have our brow chakra, which is our intuition. But many hypnotic patterns are related to this treatment. So it's kind of similar to if you've ever been to a magic show, and a hypnosis guy is doing all of that stuff, and he's holding a watch to kind of hypnotize you. It's kind of playing off the same concepts, but a little bit different. Clinical significance. So energy medicine, you can target the whole body as well as the patient's just overall being. So you can target the musculoskeletal system, you can target the nervous system, but also just the energy system and the biofields. How do you utilize it? You could utilize it sneakily or obviously. I've had to do both. Some of my patients actually really like it, the energy medicine stuff, and then others just don't really respond to it, I guess, as good as I would like. But I use it sneakily, and you can put your own intuition and you could bucket for them, and then stuff like that, because there have been studies, but cases of people doing stuff from 3,000 miles away, that they're doing energy medicine on people, and it's helping. Like there was this I think this is this qigong master that I was reading, that he was doing some kind of energy medicine treatment. I can't remember what it was exactly, but he was helping cancer cells in a lab, and he was helping it kill off the cancer cells basically in a lab 3,000 miles away. And they actually went into it like testing that, and so there's been stuff like that, and these are categorized as complementary and alternative treatments. So you can mix them with Western therapies like PERT. So right, where and sedation point tapping and holding, you're tapping to get the reflex arc for a musculoskeletal or a nerve system, I should say, but also your sedation point holding and tapping, which can help with the energy flow and stuff like that. Energy medicine doesn't always have to be about chasing pain, but can be treating emotional energy and contributing to illness and injury. Okay, it doesn't have to be always about pain. You can help them with the bucketing, bringing in the vibrations. You can use it as self treatment as a clinician. So that's the bucketing, bringing the vibrations. You could also use the sedations and all that stuff too to treat yourself. But the main goal is to just treat by feel, intuition. Okay, you're gonna fail. That's how you're gonna get better. Just looking off of when we learned how to tape ankles, I doubt that everybody their first time taping an ankle was perfect at it. You know, you had to do it multiple times. You had to fail a lot of the times just to learn and get better. And it's like learning another treatment. Okay. When I learned Mulligan, MYK, like obviously I wasn't good at it. And I'm sure neither of you were either. And now I'm still not good at it, but I'm more proficient at it, I should say. But um, yeah, it's just do your best, and if you fail, you fail. It's a learning experience. That's why we're here in the DAT. So future research ideas. I know I'm going a little bit over. Try to keep this to about 20 minutes. Did not do that. But future research ideas. So do energy medicine treatments before and after surgery significantly enhance recovery and reduce recovery time compared to matched patients who do not receive energy medicine treatments? Does offering a randomly selected group of employees of a company daily 20-minute energy balancing sessions affect job performance, baseline test health indicators, and medical services over a 2-year period, compared with randomly selected employees who are offered a daily 20-minute calisthenic program and another group of employees with no special treatment? So this probably not something we can do at a high school. I mean, you probably could, but when I saw this, I actually thought about if any of you are actually going into the industrial setting or maybe in the military setting, you could do this over a 6-month period or something like that. Then we should consider conducting pilot clinical trials on biofield therapies where clinical practice suggests beneficial effect, but minimal research currently exists in that area. So kind of help develop the research in those areas. Design trials to incorporate a whole system approach to outcome variables, including validated survey outcomes, clinical relevant biomarkers, qualitative data, and cost-effective outcomes. Okay, we'll finish up with this, but this is basically bringing everything together, everything that we just talked about. Okay, bring it all together. So from thought to emotion, to chakra, to etheric energy, to physical manifestations, to disease. That's going to be the pathway that we're going to think about. So after a marital argument, this is not like an actual patient, but more of a thought exercise. But after a marital argument, the husband thinks, I will be alone if my wife divorces me. So they're not actually divorced, but he's just thinking that after an argument. A palpable wave of sadness arises in his chest and throat. This emotion triggers an old belief system. Big boys don't cry. This cognitive directive leads him to stifle his emotions, seeking release. So he's not releasing all of the pent up emotions that he has. And that is shutting down the energy flow to his throat chakra. Okay. This resistance is intense enough that he feels himself getting choked up because he's not trying to cry. And that's what getting choked up is. That's that saying that we always say, right? And if this energy blockage continues, this resultant localized oxidative stress, remember we talked about that, creating pro-inflammatory free radicals, could trigger an inflammation and throat soreness, possibly becoming strep throat infection. So repeated exaltation of the inflammatory cycle and getting strep throat, not getting strep throat, could trigger an autoimmune response that downregulates and repatterns the associated thyroid gland into developing Hashimoto's thyroiditis. So we go from he having a marital argument and him thinking that he's going to be super lonely. He's going to be alone if he divorces, if they ever get divorced. And that flows all the way down to Hashimoto's thyroiditis. Again, it's a thought exercise, but this is a example that I found in one of the my articles that I was finding, and it actually follows what could happen And, in the summer, we're always learning about bucketing. We have to bucket our emotions, because things that we're dealing with outside can affect us with physical manifestations of that, right? So, somebody who has chronic pain in their low back actually may not be coming from the low back, could be, coming from them fighting with their kids or their wives or whatever they're dealing, or parents, or whatever they're dealing with. By bucketing and treating that emotional level, you can fix the physical manifestations. And if you don't let it go long enough, maybe that turns into something else, just like this Hashimoto's thyroiditis. All right. That's all I got for you guys. I tried to keep it to like 25 minutes, but that didn't happen. But here are my references. Let me know if you guys have any other questions. Hopefully I explained everything pretty well, and I'll see you guys in class on Monday. Okay, bye-bye.